Tuning in live, you are about to witness a live filming of a section of content for the Ascend Masterclass. So as I'm producing new content, sometimes I like to go ahead and broadcast that live so you can follow along. And if you have any comments or questions as I'm broadcasting and filming here, I would love to see those in the comments, and hopefully I'll be able to see those on my display here. Leave a comment, let me know if you're tuning in live, and I'll try to keep an eye on those. And I would love to have your feedback and your comments, which actually is an issue we're going to talk about today when it comes to our topic, which is, looks like I was muted there, preparing for virtual interviews. So we're going to talk today about what to do in a virtual interview where you're on Zoom, you're in some sort of web or video conference. Maybe you can see the rest of the interview team, maybe not. I don't know how different places are setting it up, and you might not know in advance. But all you know, if you have a virtual interview, is that you are going to be on camera and you are not going to be in the room with other people. Have you come across that? If you had one of those yet, let me know in the comments, and we will get started with our official recording in just a moment here. So we're actually going to film a segment for the Ascend Masterclass live here. Leave a comment, let me know if you're here, just say hi or something on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube or Twitter, wherever you're watching this, and I'll know that you are here. And if you have a longer question, go ahead and ask, and I will do my best to address that as part. If it falls within the scope of what we're here to film today, then I'll do my best to address that. So with that, let me hit all the right buttons and we will get started here. Preparing for virtual interviews. So what do you do if you have a virtual interview coming up? If you will be asked to interview for a position, either as part of a screening process or as maybe the entire hiring process happening on a web conferencing platform like Zoom. How do you prepare for that? Because we all know it is different. If you have one of these coming up, you might anticipate that it's going to be different in some ways. And if you've been on one, you might have felt that it did not go the way you wanted because you weren't able to rely on your usual set of interview skills. So we're going to talk about that here. Let's go ahead and pull up our essential question for this training. How can you best prepare for an interview that will take place on Zoom or other video technology? Now, here's the issue. Here's the main issue that we run into, is that we don't have access to the feedback that we normally get in real time when we're in the room with other people. The nonverbal feedback that you get from the people sitting around the table with you is crucial to what you say and how you conduct yourself and how you use your time and your feelings, your emotions, what you say, the content of your answers. So much depends on that nonverbal feedback that you get from the people around the table. And a lot of people are surprised when they first start interviewing, especially if it's been a long time or if they got their current job in a non-competitive way. Maybe it was just an internal promotion. It wasn't this kind of awkward interview. A lot of people are surprised at the lack of feedback that you get in an interview in general, right? If you're used to other people smiling and nodding and asking follow-up questions, it can be very disconcerting to have people sitting around the table, writing things down, barely making eye contact, mostly just looking at their paper and writing things down, while you are there talking and trying to engage and trying to elicit a reaction from people, and you know, they're doing their best to maintain a poker face. In a lot of cases, there's going to be one person in the room who will do their best to make you feel comfortable, who will smile and nod and make eye contact and say, uh-huh, and things like that. Even though they're not really supposed to do that. They're supposed to just be, you know, impassive poker face in order to have a fair environment for everyone. Because, you know, if you've ever walked into an interview just as the other person's walking out and you heard them laughing and, you know, chuckling and joking and everything, you think, uh-oh, that person must have been the internal candidate. That person's going to get the job. Like, it can be very disconcerting. So in an effort to be fair, interview teams always try not to give you any feedback in real time, and that can be very difficult to deal with. That can be very disconcerting. So a lot of people have to adjust in real time to the lack of feedback that, you know, just sitting around the table, you're not going to get much from people. But in virtual interviews, online, that feedback drops from very little to virtually zero. You get nothing at all. And that presents for us two specific challenges that we're going to talk about here. First, the energy that you get from the other people, the interpersonal, just kind of excitement that you get from talking with other people. And second, the feedback on when you've said enough and when you should stop talking. So let's talk about the energy issue first. I actually got this question from one of our members recently who's anticipating some interviews coming up. And he says, my strength has always been my ability to engage with the people in the room and feed off the energy. I'm not sure what to expect when interviews start. So thinking in terms of virtual interviews happening over Zoom. And I think there's a little bit of a paradox here. The better you are at connecting with people in person and just building that rapport, feeding off of that energy, the more difficult you're going to find it to do well and feel like you've done well in a virtual interview. See, if you are expecting that energy to be there, that energy in the room to kind of fuel you and to get you in the zone and to get you excited and to draw out your best answers from people, from you, if you're expecting other people to play that role of audience, you are going to be very disappointed. You're going to be very disappointed with yourself, and you're going to feel very strange at the end of the interview process. But I promise you, this is a skill that you can practice. And the way that I know that it's a skill that you can practice and get good at is that it's exactly what I do when I'm filming a video for you, or when I'm doing one of my live shows on Facebook, the Instructional Leadership Show, or Ascend Live. When you see me talking into the camera, I am getting no feedback right now from other people who are, there's nobody smiling and nodding on the other side of the camera. I am just talking to you, and I am responsible for how I express myself, for the emotion that I express. I am responsible for making and breaking eye contact with the camera. Sometimes I'll be looking straight into the camera, and sometimes if I'm thinking for a second, I'll look off camera very purposefully, not to let my eyes wander like this, but just to look down and to show that I'm thinking, and then I'll resume my eye contact with the camera. These are things that you can practice. There's no one set of techniques that you have to master, but simply the act of practicing will make an enormous difference. I promise you that. So that is my number one recommendation, is before you go into a live video interview, a virtual interview, make sure you have practiced a lot. Practice talking without that real-time feedback. Get used to the idea that you are going to be in a position of needing to talk, needing to speak, needing to answer and show what you're passionate about without any real-time feedback from other people. That is just how it goes. So don't rely on other people for your energy. The second thing you need to learn not to rely on other people for is your cue about when you've said enough. Now, this is often a trap for people in the interview process, even in face-to-face interviews, because sometimes the interview team will just run out of space on their paper, so they'll kind of stop writing. They'll take notes for a while, and then they'll just kind of start making eye contact. They'll just start looking at you like this, and then just kind of waiting for you to finish. And that really unnerves a lot of candidates. When they're sitting in the interview team, they see people writing, okay, this is good, I'm doing great, I need to keep talking about this. And then as soon as people run out of space on their paper, they stop writing, and they make eye contact, and they're sending the unintentional message, you can stop now. You can be quiet now. You've said enough. This one's over. Let's move on to the next one. You do not want to rely on other people. You do not want to rely on the interview team to give you that feedback. That is not their role. Their role is to listen and to make decisions. And if you are getting feedback that you've said enough and you should move on, but it's nonverbal, like if they say that to you directly, that's enough, we need to move on, fine. But don't misinterpret that unintentional nonverbal feedback, because chances are they're not really intending to tell you that. They're just bored or out of space, and you need to say what you need to say. So here is how you can do that. How can you make sure that you say enough and don't stop talking too soon? Really, it all comes down to time. You have got to give yourself an accurate estimate for how much time you have to answer each question. And of course, going into the interview, you should know how much time you have and how many questions you have to answer within that time. And then you can simply do the math. And then once you've done that math, if you've got a 30-minute interview and there are going to be 6 questions, great, nice and simple, 5 minutes per question. I recommend that you practice 5 minutes per question And then if the specific interview varies a little bit, you can adjust, but practice for 5 minutes per question, and then practice using all of that time to answer the question that you are given. And you will find that it's actually quite difficult at first to speak for 5 minutes on any given topic. You know, it's not a natural thing. It's very strange to just start talking about a question and then speak with passion, with enthusiasm, with energy for 5 minutes without interruption, with no feedback from other people. Can we just acknowledge for a second that that is a very strange thing to do? We don't do that normally as human beings. We don't look into the camera, wait for any feedback, and just assume that we're saying things that are intelligent and that are resonating with the audience and that are making sense. It's weird. And the fact that I'm doing it right now reflects the amount of practice that I've put into this. This is a skill that I have had to develop and that you can develop to show enthusiasm, to show energy, to show passion on video with no nonverbal feedback from your audience whatsoever. So I promise you can do this. I have had no special training. I just have lots and lots of experience. I've done hundreds of hours of live streams and video training programs, and you might not have hundreds of hours to practice, but whatever practice you can do, I promise will make an enormous difference. So again, I recommend that you shoot for 5-minute answers. And again, that's going to vary from one real interview to another as far as how much time you actually have, but shoot for 5 minutes in your practice videos. And actually record yourself on video. Now, the thing about this is nobody likes seeing themselves on video. A lot of people say, well, I just really hate seeing myself on video. It's awkward. I'm so embarrassed to see myself on video, and I just can't bring myself to watch it. Look, this is high stakes. If somebody knocked on your door and said, I will give you $1,000 to record yourself with your phone and then watch the video back, and then do it again. Record yourself answering a practice interview question with your phone, watch the video, make adjustments, do it again. If somebody came to your door and said, I will pay you $1,000 an hour to practice that, would you do it? If somebody said, I'm just gonna hand you cash right now to practice interview questions on video, would you do it? I'm guessing that most of us would do it. Most people would say, okay, that would actually be a good use of my time. I will overcome the awkwardness and the discomfort that I feel when I'm watching myself on video, and I will practice. And yet, most people, when faced with the opportunity to either practice and have a much better shot at a job that could be a substantial promotion with a substantial salary increase, most people will say, you know what, I'm just gonna think about these interview questions. I'm just gonna write out my answers. I'm not actually gonna practice on video. And if I do, I'm not actually gonna watch the video. Look, anything you do is better than nothing. Thinking about interview questions is better than not thinking about it. Writing out answers is better than just thinking about them. Practicing those questions on video is better than just writing them out. And watching the video and giving yourself feedback is, of course, better than simply videoing yourself and not watching. So the time to confront your discomfort with this process and with the skill that you need to develop is in advance. Do not postpone that discomfort for the live interview, because that's when the stakes are high, right? There are no stakes to talking into your phone and watching the video and then deleting it. Nothing bad happens in the world if you do that. So that is my advice to you, is that you actually invest the time to do that practice and to get through that discomfort. Talk for 5 minutes into your phone, answer an interview question, and then watch it and then delete it. It's as simple as that. A tool that I want to highly recommend to you if you're in the Ascend Masterclass is our leadership journal. Now, this is a lengthy PDF that has not only interview questions that you can practice, you can write out your answers, and then you can practice speaking for 5 minutes about those questions, but it also has some different logs that you can use to keep track of experiences that might lend themselves to stories, right? If you've been through a tough experience as a leader, that might have been unpleasant in the moment, but it could be a fabulous experience to share as a story in an interview, especially when it comes to behavioral interview questions that go, tell us about a time when you resolved a conflict between two parties. What was the circumstance, and what did you do, and what was the outcome? Anytime you are ready to tell a story, you are going to be able to direct your emotional energy, your enthusiasm, your facial expressions to letting the interview team feel the way that you want them to feel, instead of just thinking through the facts of the story. So you've got to practice those stories. You've got to do that in advance so that you are ready. All right, that is it for this filming. I think I've got what I need for the masterclass. We'll get this edited and uploaded. So if you are part of the Ascend Masterclass, you can look for that in your dashboard. And if you have questions that you'd like me to answer in a future video, I will probably continue to do these here live on the live stream, and you're welcome to tune in anytime I do one of those. You may want to follow this page or turn on notifications or however that works in the social media app, so that you can tune in and get these interview tips. And if you are interested in getting some more help, keep an eye out for information on the Ascend Masterclass. All right, that is it for today. I've got to go record a podcast, but thanks for tuning in, and I will catch you next time. Bye-bye.